Qualifications for this award is that the business must have been in continuous for-profit operation in the state of Texas for at least 50 years. It doesn't say how much profit, so you're clear. The newspaper started in 1885 and was first published in 1877. Now, if my math is good, and we teach that in Van Austin, that's 132 years, so you're really well overqualified. The first office for the newspaper was a building in the middle of today's town. And there have been several owners. The last owner was, the last time it was purchased was in 2008, and it was purchased by Mr. Scott Wood. The editor and manager of the paper is Austin Lewter. So if Mr. Lewter will please come forward. Mr. Lewter, on behalf of the state of Texas and the Grayson County Historical Commission, it is with great pleasure that I present this award to you. Thank you very much for your work.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, if you have an agenda, there is one back here if you don't have a program. Next, we have Chuck Cox, who is the Mayor Pro Tem. Mr. Cox. I believe that's Council Mayor Cox.
Council.
He wears a lot of hats.
I think I can do this without the microphone. I'm going to read to you a proclamation by the mayor of the city of Whitesboro, Texas, recognizing and honoring the Whitesboro News-Record as a Texas newspaper treasure business on the occasion of the recognition of many years of service to the community of Whitesboro, Texas. Whereas the residents of the city of Whitesboro and surrounding community have come to depend and rely upon the Whitesboro News-Record for information about the people, the events, and the important news about Whitesboro and its neighbors. And whereas, as the newspaper serving for so many years the Whitesboro city and community, the News-Record has been the most consistent and reliable source of information about the immediate world that we know and live in. And whereas, as the residents of this community, we congratulate the Whitesboro News-Record for the many years of direct communication to our citizens about the events that affect us so directly. And now, therefore, may it be known that on this day of March 24th, 2017, we, as citizens of the city of Whitesboro, Texas, Grayson County, do heartily and gratefully recognize the Whitesboro News-Record, its owners, employees, and contributors for the many years of faithful recording and delivering to us the news and events that make our community the place where we can live and call home, a place that we can proudly call a Texas treasure. Presented on this 24th day of March 2017 by W.D. Welch, Mayor of the city of Whitesboro, Texas, on behalf of the city and its residents in honor and of the recognition given to the Whitesboro News-Record and its owners, staff, and readers. And it is signed W.D. Welch, Mayor, City of Whitesboro, Texas.
Oh, hang on, do that again. Okay.
Hold on, he wants to get another one.
Yeah.
We're the newspaper, we can do that.
Yeah, there you go.
Is that all right?
Yeah, that's better. I'm
Okay.
overexposing with mine.
Thank you,
sir.
man. I appreciate it. I think I can do this without a microphone too. I'm going to get my reporter's notebook out though. Thank y'all for coming. The weather turned out beautiful, and I want to thank the History Club for putting this on. I had the pleasure of nominating them for Citizen of the Year with the Chamber of Commerce banquet a couple years ago, and I think they earned that award again and every year. I am going to single one person out. I've been telling everybody that this is Bobby Irwin's party. We just get to come, and I think we deserve her a big round of applause. She's been our in-staff decorator for about 3 weeks now. I don't know, my wife's going to want to buy furniture now or something. I don't know. The award says 1885 because that's the oldest piece of printed material we can find here. There's an 1885 issue hanging on the wall. The newspaper was actually founded in 1877, and it's an interesting history. It was a lady by the name of McPherson who came here from Caddo, Oklahoma with her 2 sons and a mule and wagon on the Indian trails. They brought an old army, a Civil War era army press with them. They crossed on a Culbert's Ferry at the river, and they came to Whitesboro. It was the Whitesboro Democrat. That's back when we had Democrats in Whitesboro. I don't know, I heard we may have some more in the next election. I don't know. But her and her son set up shop, and that was May 17th, 1877 was when the first issue went out. She ran it a couple years and then actually moved to Sherman and started the Sherman Democrat, which when I was a kid merged with the Denison Herald, and now we have the Herald Democrat. And there's some people at Sherman and Denison who are still mad about that merger. They remember when each town had their own newspaper. There were 2 publishers named Bailey and Rose that took the Democrat. They changed the name to the Weekly News. Went under that name for about a year, and then in 1881 changed the name to the Whitesboro News. A guy named Percy Darwin bought it in 1881. Owners included E.M. Hubert, Theo Denton, G.W. Acton, and then his son Sam Acton until 1905. Mr. Denton got back in newspapers in 1905, and he started the Whitesboro Record, so we had 2 newspapers. Mr. Acton, Mr. Denton, Mr. Denton and Mr. Acton decided they were tired of competing against each other, so they pulled their resources and merged the 2 newspapers into the Whitesboro News-Record. And that was in 1908. So it's been publishing under that name since 1908. Before the First World War, there was a slew of owners: C.W. Anderson, A.J. Harrison, A.B. Ingram, E.C. Hunter, and both Actons, the father and the son, owned it at different times in those 7 years. 1923, it was purchased by D.R. Huffaker, Dap Huffaker. Mr. Huffaker also owned the Collinsville Times and the Gunner Star. If you are interested in ever looking at any of those old newspapers and every Friday afternoon, we have a closet full back there. Mr. Huffaker was an aspiring politician. There's the police scanner there. I may have to go cover the story. Mr. Huffaker was an aspiring politician.
EMS, attention EMS. I have a light alert activation at 2503.
He was killed in a car wreck outside of Waco driving back from Austin in the late 1930s. I think it was 1938. I have a newspaper back there after Mr. Huffaker died, and the governor of the state of Texas had a full-page ad in that paper offering his condolences to the city of Whitesboro. And I'm sure Ms. Huffaker accepted the check from the governor's office for that ad too. His wife, Geneva Huffaker, took over the newspaper. She was also the chair of the English department at Whitesboro High School. A lady publisher is fairly uncommon in this business nowadays, just because of maybe ladies have more sense than to get into this business. But it was really uncommon back then, and by all accounts, she was a class act. She ushered the News-Record through the Second World War. Before you leave, we have an issue from December 12th, 1941. The Friday, yes, Whitesboro paper was a Friday newspaper back then. And we are again. There was a front page editorial from Ms. Huffaker about the implications of what had just happened. And it's worth your time to stop and read it. I think it has probably just as implicit today as ever. So check that out. She ran it through the 50s. And there was a slew of owners in the 50s. Richard Cook, Floyd and Faye Casebolt, Dan Feather, who at the time, I believe I'm correct in saying, owned the Pilot Point Post Signal too. And then Feather sold it to Herbert and James Pate, and the Pates had the Medill newspaper too, didn't they? So this multiple newspapers, sister newspapers, isn't a new thing. Ron Smith bought it in 1968 and died of a heart attack when he was 29 years old in 1973, and Jim and Zena bought it and did a wonderful job in the time they were here. My first job in the newspaper business was in this office. I was 12 years old, and Jim paid me $25 a Friday night to take a camera out to the Whitesboro Bearcat football game. I'm sad to say, as Richard will tell you, the pay for photographers hasn't gone up since I was 12 years old. But I'm glad Jim's here. He's a friend, and I don't know if I would be here, I would be in this business without his doing that for me. I want to take a minute and thank our staff, Richard Todd, Dan Aiken, Leslie Campbell, Delaney Pierce, and Emily Alanays. That's our ad department over there. And I think, you know, this place has employed a lot of people over the years. I'll have somebody come in here that's been in town for a class reunion and say, well, I worked here back when it was over here. You know, there's been a lot of people that came through here. Brad Stone was here for a long time, Bob Lusk. I invited both of those guys, but they are out of town. Both of Jim's sons worked here. Sharon Lively, Carolyn Bartolomucci. I mean, you could go through those and just see how many of those people are still with us. There's a few special people that aren't with us anymore. We lost Zena last year. Zena was the heart and soul of this place. Jean Wood, we lost her last year. And of course, my grandmother. She was the Texas treasurer here. And so I accept this today on all of their behalf. The thing that makes community journalism what it is it's not my newspaper. It's not Richard's newspaper. It was never Jim's newspaper. We get complaints here all the time. And the biggest complaint I get, I didn't get my paper today. My neighbor got my paper and she lost it. My dog ate my paper. The one common word in all of those is the word my. Okay? That's the one thing that the community newspaper as a form of media offers that nobody else offers, is it belongs to y'all. It belongs to the community. And that's why, you know, community newspapers played a big role in settling the West and settling the frontier. I mean, a lady and her two sons came